No funny intro. No music. I'm not in the mood. Frankly. Better luck next cast. This week, my grandfather-in-law died. This will serve as my eulogy to him. Kurt was 94 and lived a good life. He escaped a Nazi death camp. He fought for the U.S. in World War II, had one lung, and could do one-armed push-ups until he turned 90. He taught my wife how to do a cartwheel via demonstration when he was 80-something. He made wise decisions and made lots of money, which he rarely spent, but gave gifts to his loved ones. He loved few, but fiercely and fully. He was a proud man, and deservingly. Possessing a strict moral character, he abided no breach. It is with no reservations that I say he is one of the few men that I fully respected. He did not linger on for years, as many do these days. He went from bussing around the house and calling his grandkids to hospice care in about 2 weeks. He died in his own home, surrounded by family, peacefully in his sleep. While I was helping move him around this week in what proved to be one of the last moments in which he was cogent, and very nearly his last words, he said the following to me. "I didn't know how good of a man you were until I needed your help." I have a thick skin, but this one got me. I informed him, as I inform you now, that I was not at his bedside wiping his chin out of some misguided sense of duty or even out of an abundance of compassion. I was there to serve justice. There lies a good man, one of the best. He deserved to depart with dignity, and I did what was in my power to ensure that he did. As usual, when times are difficult, I turn to philosophy. Objectivism has little to say of death, and this is no surprise, as I shall explain later. There are other philosophies, however, and some of them speak on the subject. When my chosen philosophy is silent on a subject, I turn to Aristotle next. After that, Stoicism. While they were both wrong about a great number of things, there are many quotes which can be uplifting and provide clarity. I've gathered some for our consideration. Death is the most terrible of all things, for it is the end, and nothing is thought to be either good or bad for the dead. Aristotle. Here Aristotle makes clear the point that moral terms like good and bad are reserved for those who make choices. The dead make no decisions. This is the main reason why philosophy is so important, because there is a terminus. There is no do-over. You only get about 80 years if you're lucky. Fill them with happiness by making moral choices and creating a good life. It is not death that a man should fear, but rather he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. We cannot choose our time of death, except by suicide. What we do have control over is how we live our lives. I take this quote to mean live boldly. Do not while away your hours in boredom or slaving over some task that you despise. Go, do. Live every day with energy and drive. I have to die. If it is now, well, then I die now. If later, then now I will take my lunch, since the hour for lunch has arrived, and dying I will tend to later. Epictetus. Much can be said for the Stoic wit. Here Epictetus displays a blasé attitude towards his inevitable doom. His disposition seems to be that he cannot worry about the fact that he will one day cease to exist. He will focus on what is in front of him, and live his life morally, and enjoy living. While Ayn Rand did not write much about death, she was asked about it in a number of interviews. Here's what she said.
I tend to think of this whole thing as ongoing. that there is an eternity and that we are going to be a part of that eternity, that we aren't just corpses in graves when we die.
But we aren't corpses in graves. We are not there. Don't you understand that when this life is finished, you're not there to say, oh, how terrible that I'm a corpse. No.
Well, this is true.
It's finished. And what I've always thought was a sentence from some Greek philosopher. I don't unfortunately remember who it was, that I read at 16, and it's affected me all my life. I will not die. It's the world that will end. And that's absolutely true. And you know, for me now, it should be a serious question, because my time is fairly limited, and I have the same feeling that I will enjoy life to the last moment, and when it's the end, I don't have to worry about it. I'm not there. It's too bad that the world will end, and I think a very wonderful world will end with me.
I will not die. It's the world that will end. What a wonderful way to put it. To clarify even further, in another interview, she said,
I want to return for just one moment to religion and to the ethic in which so many of us were raised. Of course, religion is used by some people as a way of facing the idea of the inevitability of death. How do you feel about that as an objectivist? That is, how do you feel about death? Is it?
It doesn't concern me in the least, because I won't be here to know it. Mm-hmm. Don't you see that death, the worst thing about death, and what I regard as the worst human tragedy, is to lose someone you love. That is terribly hard. But your own death, if you're finished, you're finished. My purpose is not to worry about death, but to live life here on earth and now.
Do you find joy in that life?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
What are the sources of joy? Achievement?
Achievement. Mm-hmm. And romantic love, my husband. Mm-hmm. Those are the two great values in life. Career and romantic love.
I feel little need to add on to these clips. There's plenty more to think about when it comes to death. For example, it's death that acts as a constant alternative to life, directing all moral decisions. It is only living beings that face this alternative. From bacterium to man, this makes life the standard of value. I have a lot to think about. And I'd like to thank you for listening to this non-standard episode. I needed to work through this event, and I find that I do that best as I collect my thoughts and write. I will miss Kurt. The whole world is less bright without him in it. I wish he had time to know my children better and to see them grow. I wish a lot of things. In lieu of flowers, please live your life with purpose. Thanks.